Well, look, we just come from a race where we finished 10th.
Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari was supposed to be historic, but it's already turning into a nightmare. After just a few races, cracks have started to show, and Hamilton might already be regretting his decision to switch teams.
Painful blow for Ferrari. They've shipped 18 points here. That leaves them 61 points already behind McLaren.
Seriously, how much frustration can a champion hold back before he finally says enough is enough? And after what Hamilton just revealed, can Ferrari even recover? Ferrari's collapse didn't start at Suzuka. The warning signs were there from the first race. In Australia, Ferrari finished 8th and 10th, far from where a top team should be. Instead of addressing the problems, they downplayed them. China made things worse. Hamilton was disqualified after the race for excessive plank wear, meaning the car ran too low and broke regulations. Ferrari's reaction was immediate: panic. To avoid further penalties, they raised the car's ride height. But in Formula One, even a few millimeters can destroy a car's aerodynamic performance. Ground effect cars like the SF25 rely on being low to the ground for downforce. Raising the height meant sacrificing grip and stability, especially through high-speed corners.
Lewis Hamilton's case, it was the skid block underneath his car which was found to be worn too thin, worn thinner than the legal requirement, which is 9 millimeters.
The SF25 was already known for its narrow setup window. Everything, tire temperatures, suspension, aero balance, had to be perfect. One change, and the car's performance dropped heavily.
Okay, so his was 8.5 millimeters thick. That's, I'll show you in a minute. It's basically the width of your ID pass, Rob.
By the time Ferrari arrived in Japan, the damage was already done. Suzuka's high-speed layout punished any weakness. Raising the ride height to play it safe meant the car lost its strongest asset: ground effect. From Friday practice, Hamilton struggled. The SF25 became unpredictable. He fought chronic understeer, with the front refusing to turn properly into corners. At the same time, the rear end felt unstable on exits, leaving him unable to trust the car through critical sections like the SEs and 130R.
The reason they have that limit is to stop the cars running too low. If you can run your car close to the ground, it gives a competitive advantage. They have to set the benchmark somewhere. Why has that happened?
Qualifying made it obvious. Hamilton barely made it into Q3 and could only manage P8, over 6/10 off the leaders. Afterward, he said they were running higher than we would like, confirming Ferrari's setup compromises. The SF25's setup sensitivity meant that once Ferrari adjusted the ride height, they had no margin left. Red Bull and McLaren could tweak setups without destroying pace. Ferrari couldn't. Hamilton wasn't fighting rivals, he was fighting his own car.
Why has that happened? Well, it's a sprint weekend. They're changing the setup of the car without practice sessions to properly monitor it.
But the bigger loss wasn't just lap time, it was trust. Hamilton's public comments signaled a serious breakdown between driver and engineering team. In Formula One, when a world champion starts questioning the garage openly, the pressure explodes internally. Ferrari tried to avoid another scandal after China. Instead, they boxed themselves into a corner. Every millimeter raised was pace lost. Every safe move made the car slower. At a track like Suzuka, it left Hamilton exposed and helpless. Suzuka wasn't just a bad weekend. It was the result of fear-based decisions, technical fragility, and a car that demanded more precision than Ferrari could deliver.
For the cars, and that's because the lighter your car, the quicker it goes. It's set at 800 kilograms. Leclerc actually came in and his car was right on the limit. They noticed a bit's fallen off. He had a bit of contact with Lewis, so they put on a new wing. He was back heavier again.
By Saturday, Ferrari's situation was fully exposed. Early practices showed the SF25 was on a knife's edge. Every lap, Hamilton fought a car that was either understeering wide or stepping out at the rear. Suzuka demands aerodynamic balance. Ferrari's compromised ride height made balance impossible. Qualifying turned into damage control. Hamilton barely scraped into Q3, relying on pure skill to haul the SF25 across the line. But once there, he had nothing left to fight with. In the final session, he could only manage P8 over 6/10 off the leaders.
Got to judge what the conditions of the race will be and then optimize the setup of your car as a result. What has probably caught Ferrari out here in the fuel weight case is the fact that it was thought to be a two-stop race, so you'd be putting on a set of tires.
After the session, Hamilton didn't hold back. "I'm running higher than we want," he said, confirming that Ferrari's setup compromises were sabotaging the weekend. In Formula One, when a driver publicly calls out a car's flaws mid-season, it's a major red flag. Hamilton's understeer and lack of rear stability made it impossible to attack critical sections like the S's or 130R at full speed. These are corners where confidence matters. Ferrari's changes had stripped all of it away.
No safety car in this Grand Prix. That means you're burning fuel at a greater rate during the race. You'd burn more fuel, you'd end up with a lighter tank.
By race day, there was no miracle coming. Off the line, Hamilton couldn't challenge anyone ahead. The SF25 lacked the grip and acceleration to even threaten a move. Stuck in midfield battles, he spent the race fending off cars he should have been passing. Hamilton crossed the line in P7 behind both Mercedes cars, a painful reminder of what he had left behind. Ferrari, the team that was supposed to dethrone Red Bull, was barely hanging on as the fourth fastest car.
Painful blow for Ferrari. They've shipped 18 points here. That leaves them 61 points already behind McLaren.
The frustration was written all over Hamilton's body language. His usual calm was replaced by visible exhaustion, the signs of a driver carrying a car far below his standards. The mechanical sympathy was gone. Post-race, the final blow landed. Hamilton revealed that Ferrari had found a hidden, underperforming component on his car, something that had been affecting him for the last 3 races. The same issue that might explain the gap between him and Leclerc.
Hamilton was quoted by Sky F1 as saying, "I did the best I could today. I was genuinely lacking performance compared to the cars ahead of me. I'm not extracting the best out of the tyres. We found something on the car that was underperforming for the last 3 races, so I'm hoping when that's fixed, that I'll start getting better results."
After the race, Hamilton didn't waste words. He revealed that Ferrari had found a performance-killing issue that had been affecting his car for the past 3 races. It wasn't about adapting to a new team or struggling with driving style, it was mechanical. A flaw buried deep inside the SF25 that had crippled his tire performance, race pace, and overall competitiveness. For weeks, Hamilton had been dragging around a car that couldn't deliver what it promised. It explained the visible split between him and Charles Leclerc. While Leclerc showed flashes of podium pace, Hamilton looked stuck. Now it was clear. They weren't racing with the same equipment.
Ferrari's range of emotions that Lewis Hamilton last weekend in Melbourne would say, look, don't panic, it wasn't great, but it was okay. Sprint victory yesterday, and as you said, now this, which already looks like a long way back.
Yeah.
This kind of garage split is deadly at the top level of Formula One. Teams like Red Bull and Mercedes work relentlessly to ensure both drivers get identical machinery. If one side of the garage has an unseen fault, the performance gap becomes inevitable. At Ferrari, the engineering team had missed it entirely. The fact that it took 3 full race weekends to find the problem exposed major cracks inside Ferrari's internal processes. In a championship fight, small errors become fatal. Missing a mechanical fault for 3 Grand Prix isn't small. It's catastrophic. It means the systems meant to catch these issues. Post-race checks, telemetry analysis, mechanical inspections, either failed or weren't strict enough.
The race trace from last year, and it's upside down compared to the previous ones. So I'm like looking at it from what I've... The same for you?
I don't understand.
No, I don't understand it at all. I'm like...
Hamilton didn't blast the team publicly. He stayed professional, saying he hoped fixing the problem would finally allow him to unlock the true potential of the SF25. But behind the calm tone was a brutal message. Ferrari had wasted his first 3 races because they weren't sharp enough. And the mechanical problem is just one layer of a much bigger weakness inside Ferrari. The SF25 itself is built for perfection. And that's a problem. Unlike Red Bull's RB20, which can tolerate variations in track conditions, setup changes, and ride height shifts, the SF25 collapses if anything is even slightly wrong. It operates inside an extremely narrow setup window. Step outside that window by a few millimeters, and performance falls off a cliff.
Who didn't have the best weekend in Japan. Now, it's not been the best start to the season for Ferrari at all. You know, in Melbourne they finished 8th and 10th. In China they finished 5th and 6th before being disqualified.
When Ferrari reacted to Hamilton's disqualification in China, they didn't fix the underlying cause intelligently. They overreacted. They lifted the car's ride height too much, trying to avoid another penalty. But by doing so, they destroyed the ground effect that gives the car its aerodynamic grip. It was a textbook example of fear-based decision-making. Red Bull and Mercedes have dealt with disqualifications and technical failures before. They fix the problem quietly and move on. Ferrari panicked, overcorrected, and handed away tenths of a second per lap because they didn't trust their ability to balance legality and performance.
Hamilton finished, I think, in a more realistic P7. Now, if we remember back to the Chinese Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton was disqualified from that race because his car had too much excessive skid wear.
At Suzuka, the consequences were brutal. The SF25 wasn't just slower, it was unstable, unpredictable, and demoralizing to drive. The raised ride height killed aerodynamic stability. The car lost rear-end grip on exits, suffered chronic understeer on entry, and Hamilton spent every lap trying to survive corners instead of attacking them. While rivals like Red Bull can make setup changes and still stay competitive, Ferrari's SF25 turns into a completely different machine if conditions aren't perfect. That's not the mark of a championship-winning car. It's the mark of a fragile one. Ferrari's conservative approach forced Hamilton to drive with one hand tied. He couldn't lean on the car in qualifying. He couldn't race aggressively on Sundays. Everything was about staying inside a narrow operating window just to stay competitive. Every risk taken could end in disaster. Every safe move guaranteed mediocrity.
And Hamilton did confirm at the Japanese Grand Prix that the team had now raised the ride height of the car, and if you're going to do that, you are literally going to lose performance, you're going to lose downforce.
Meanwhile, the rest of the grid was moving forward. Red Bull's car remains dominant. McLaren's package is closing the gap. Even Mercedes, the team Hamilton left behind, showed better adaptability. Championship teams evolve quickly. They absorb mistakes, correct them, and improve. Ferrari froze. Their overcorrection after Shanghai locked them into a defensive mindset. Every move became about minimizing risk instead of maximizing performance, and that's the deadliest mindset in Formula One. For Hamilton, this isn't just about fixing a mechanical flaw. It's about whether Ferrari can change its culture fast enough to give him a real shot at the title. One hidden mechanical issue almost derailed his first 3 races. A fragile car and a fearful team could derail his entire season. Time is running out. Red Bull and McLaren aren't slowing down. Ferrari can't afford to waste another weekend finding problems they should have caught immediately. If Ferrari can fix the mechanical fault, stabilize the ride height issues, and unlock the SF25's real performance window, Hamilton still has a chance to turn this season around. If not, Suzuka will be remembered as the weekend Ferrari showed the world they aren't ready to win, even with the greatest driver of his generation behind the wheel. What do you think will happen? Comment your thoughts below.